accessories that are worn on the body, hands and legs, including those that can be carried in the hand like bags and purses. The footwear module will introduce you to footwear styles like shoes, sandals, boots, etc. worn by men and women throughout the ages. Furthermore, items of hosiery such as socks, hoses and stockings and other warmers like ear warmers and muffs will be discussed in the soft accessories module. The accessories in this unit have been classified based on how and why they are worn or carried. Let us now proceed to the module 1 of this unit, which will introduce to you several soft accessories worn on the body. Fashion accessories that are made up of soft materials are classified as soft accessories. In Unit 3, we have once before discussed this term while exploring the world of ties and scarves. Yes, and in continuation to those modules, in this unit for the accessories for the body, we will know about small, soft accessories worn on the body like gloves, belts, warmers, socks and stockings. Let us begin this module by looking at what gloves are. Gloves, as you might know, serve both utilitarian as well as decorative functions. They can be used in cold weather, while riding bicycles or motorbikes, even cars. They can be worn while handling certain substances. While forensic scientists wear them when working with sensitive evidence, lab technicians wear them when handling hazardous substances. Dyers, artists or designers like me might wear them when working with colors, dyes or materials that might stain their hand or irritate the skin. Gloves can also be used to cover up skin deformation. In the fashion context, gloves are worn to complete the attire. However, we must understand that the material and the requirement of the gloves of each of these categories are very different from one another. Now, gloves might seem like a very small item of clothing, but they have a lot of symbolic value. The ancient Minoans are believed to have used gloves while boxing. Greek and Roman people wore gloves for protection in battle and in agriculture work. So gloves do have a long and glorious history. Gloves have been an indicator of social status and power. Traditionally, the clergy wore gloves while performing the sacraments. In this case, they communicated the power of the church and its representatives. Initially, leather gloves were confined to the elite social classes. They signified the wearer's wealth and superior rank. Women did not generally include gloves as a part of their dress until the Reformation period. Fashion gloves. In the beginning of the 17th century, gloves adorned with elaborate gold and silver, silk and embroideries, often bejeweled with precious stones, became popular. Patterned or fringed gauntlets came to be attached at the wrist. Then came fabric and knitted gloves, which were expensive objects of desire, but had little utilitarian purpose. A glove was a gift, symbolic of power and value. And sometimes its value as a gift was increased by inserting a gold coin to the body of the glove or by perfuming the material. even in a traditional society like India, the same kind of treatment is meted out when giving a purse or a bag as a gift. Coming back to gloves, by the end of the 19th century, gloves became a must-have for evening wear. They became an integral aspect of bridal attire for women. In the later half of the 20th century, gloves also became a major part of fashion looks across subcultures. Be it goth, rocker chic, biker, elvish, gloves form an important part of the ensemble. Gloves are often used by performers, magicians and musicians to draw attention to their hands or their movements during the course of their performance. Michael Jackson's famous white rhinestone-studded glove is something that all of you might remember. It first made an appearance in Billie Jean and became an icon in its own right. Though initially it was simply a fashion accessory, in the later stages, Michael Jackson is said to have used it to cover his skin issues he had on his hand. So what are the different styles of gloves available in the market, you might ask? Here are some of the commonly seen glove styles. First up, fingerless. In fingerless gloves, which are also known as glovelets, the finger columns are half length, that is still here, and open, allowing the top half of the wearer's fingers to be shown. Fingerless gloves are often padded in the palm area. This is to provide protection to the hand while allowing the hand to remain cool. The exposed fingers also do not interfere with sensation or gripping, as do the full gloves. Mittens. Gloves which cover the entire hand but do not have separate finger openings or sheaths are called as mittens. Generally, mittens separate the thumb from the other four fingers. Most commonly used mittens or mitts are oven mitts that can be used to take out baked goods or cooked dishes from your microwave or your cooking oven. Gauntlets. Gauntlet now refers to any protective glove that is used especially in an industrial setup. Now, this term is an interesting throwback to the metal or the rigid gloves that were worn by knights along with their medieval armor to protect the hand. Elbow-length gloves. These types of gloves cover up the arm till the elbows. Now, if you look at Old English movies, you might see elbow-length gloves being worn as a part of evening wear. Botany gloves. These types of gloves are covered up until the wrist. Now, these kind of gloves can be combined with an attractive piece of jewelry, like a bracelet or a cuff, in order to make the look seem more dressier. Opera gloves. These are gloves that cover up almost the complete arm. They go over the elbow until the biceps. Now let us take a look at glove materials, because depending on the type of material, the look of the glove completely changes. Fashion gloves are typically made of fabrics like lace, velvet, wool, silk, acrylic, rubber, and yes, of course, leather. Some gloves include a lining of velour or silk satin and might include padding. Safety gloves, on the other hand, are made up of materials like nitrile, latex, neoprene, and even metal mesh. Sporting gloves can be made up of a combination of materials, and they are made specifically to suit the requirements of the sport. For instance, a fencing glove is different from a racer's glove, and it's completely different from a baseball pitcher's glove. Now, there are many types of gloves that are available in the market, but they are beyond the scope of this module. I hope now that we have discussed gloves and styles of gloves, you might see that gloves are not just utilitarian pieces with a fashion quotient. They are, by themselves, statement-making accessories. Belts. A belt is a cinching system that goes around the waist using tension to hold up a garment like trousers or skirt. Utility belts like a carpenter's belt or even Batman's belt, for that example, are used to carry materials or tools around the waist. A belt can also be used to add definition to loose or boxy fit garments. Belts are typically made of leather, suede, vinyl, faux leather like ricin, fabric, metal, or even plastic. Belts can be purely decorative as well. Men's belts are generally between 1 inch to 1.5 inches wide, while women's belts may start at 0.5 inches and go up to 3 inches wide. Corset belts tend to be over 5 inches. Your belt, as a rule of thumb, should be a minimum of 1 to 2 inches longer than the size of your pants waist. This could change depending on the buckle and, yes, the fastening method. Before we move on, I would like you to closely notice a belt. Let us study the anatomy of a belt. Most belts have two parts, the buckle and the strap. The buckle is the most ornamental part of the belt, and it's used to secure the belt. The part of the buckle that is joined to the strap is called the chape. The distance from the chape to hook also adds to the length of your belt. Many belts also have a keeper loop that stops the free end from flapping around. They may also have an end tip in metal or leather. The end tip protects the end of the belt and can make it easier to buckle. In some belts, the strap and the buckle are permanently joined, and in others, like snap belts, they can be taken apart and switched out. The bigger the buckle, the more casual the belt is. And yes, you guessed it right. It goes the same way for ornamental belt buckles too. So what are the different types of buckle types that you can see? Firstly, the frame buckle. Here, the strap goes through the frame and the prong goes through the holes in the strap to fasten the belt. This is the most common type of buckle, and it can be seen on most formal as well as casual belts. The plate type. Here, the metal plate is usually detachable, and it can be paired with snap belts also. Snap. The word snap here refers to the type of belt, that is, the snap belt, where the ends just snap together to connect. Box frame buckle. It is a hollow and open-ended sort of a buckle, where the post presses the strap against the inside of the box. This type of belt does not need holes in the strap, so do not go on making them. A variation of this buckle can be found in women's belts too. Ring type. In this type of buckle, two O-rings or D-rings are and the belt is fastened by threading through them. These buckles are typically found on fabric belts, especially canvas and webbing belts. Micro-adjust. This buckle uses a ratchet-style track system where it presses the teeth of the track system into the strap. This type of belt does not need holes in the strap as well, and it allows for minute adjustments. Rope belts are mostly women's fashion, but they can be worn by men in nautical circles too. These are often fastened with a knot and a loop rather than a buckle. They are durable and easy to clean, and they might also work better than leather in some cases. There are also other types of belts, such as ribbons, which can be tied around the waist and knotted into a bow. In such cases, there are no buckles, but the belt by itself can be fastened to itself with the use of a knot. Sometimes a crimp or a holding system is also used to keep the belt in place. These are all mostly decorative belts. Now, talking about accessories, we cannot ignore the fashion aspect. Belts, on the whole, can be divided into dress belts and casual belts. However, the lines blur in women's wear. Compared to leather belts, faux leather belts work well for people who are vegans and vegetarians. But while faux leather belts are low maintenance, economical, look realistic and very trendy, they are not durable. You might have to change them very often. Black and brown are the most common colors in men's dress belts, followed by tan, navy, grey and yes, white for casual belts. Men typically match the color and texture of their belt with their shoes. While this is a practice that has been followed for quite a long time, this is not exactly a science and it is not exactly a rule. Feel free to experiment in a way that suits the occasion and complements your personality. At the end of the day, a belt can quietly work to help you pull your outfit together, or it can help you make a statement. It depends on exactly what you want the belt to do. So choose your belt based on what your goals are. Suspenders. Suspenders are long strips of fabric worn over your shoulders with the purpose of holding up your trousers. They attach to your trousers with clips or buttons. They feature either an X, Y or head shape at the back for additional strength and support, and to prevent the strap from falling from your shoulders. Now, suspenders date back as far as the 18th century. France, where strips of ribbon were attached to the buttonholes of trousers and at that time considered to be undergarments. The first modern suspenders said to be invented by Albert Thurston in 1820. Samuel Clemens, aka Mark Twain, the author, received a patent for suspenders in 1871. Now you might ask me, when there are belts available, why wear suspenders? Now suspenders effectively hold up your pants while reducing bulk at the waist. They eliminate the bunching of fabric that occurs at the waist and the thigh, and yes, make you look taller. They can be great accessories and great complements for fashion looks, such as the nerd look and the geek look. They can be a minimal, sophisticated accessory are an extremely quirky accessory. More importantly, they allow you an opportunity to showcase your personality. Suspenders are also a requisite part of many black tie outfits. So, it is prudent for men to own at least one. Though suspenders are worn mostly by men, they are typically unisex. They lend quite a bit of charm when worn by women. For men, I recommend button suspenders over clip-on ones, as the clips might damage the waistbands over time. Whether you pick up solid, striped or even printed suspenders, choose them based on the occasion and yes, based on your outfit. Are you going to cover them up with a blazer or a suit? Or are you going to simply wear them over your shirt and show them off to the rest of the world? Moving on, let us come to another category of soft accessories worn on the body. Warmers. Warmers are a loose classification of soft accessories that are used to keep a person warm. They include scarves, shawls, mufflers, earmuffs, arm and leg warmers. We have already studied about scarves and shawls in the earlier unit, if you recollect. So let us move on to muffs and other type of warmers. You must have quite heard the word muffler. A muffler is a scarf worn around the neck to keep you warm. It is usually knitted and chunky and heavier than a scarf, say one that is made up of silk. On a similar note, a muff is a short tube of fur or warm cloth, could be a chunky knit, that is used to keep your hands warm in cold weather. Apart from knitting and crochet, muffs can also be sewn using thick fabrics and covered with fleece or faux fur. Earmuff. Earmuffs help cover a person's ears to protect them from noise and or cold. They could consist of a metal headband or even a thermoplastic band that fits over either the top or back of the head. The muff is typically a pad, a cushion, or simply a cup at each end to cover the ears. Modern earmuffs are of two types. Thermal earmuffs, worn in cold environments to keep a person's ears warm, with pads of cloth or fur. Acoustic earmuffs. These are cups lined with sound deadening material, which are worn as hearing protection. These may be carried on the headband like noise-cancelling headphones, or clipped to the sides of a hard hat for use on a construction site. Some manufacturers of headphones mix headphones with ear defenders, allowing the wearer to listen to music or any sort of audio while enjoying isolation, even protection from ambient noises. Arm warmers and leg warmers are of a slightly different category because they are more fashion oriented. Arm warmers are coverings for the arms and the hand, and they specifically cover the elbow. Striped arm warmers can be seen in subculture dressing of those who follow the emo style. Leg warmers are worn to keep the lower legs warm in cold weather. They are similar to socks, but they are footless. They can be tubular sleeves or fabric wrappings tied around the calves. They are used in several outdoor activities and sports apart from fashion, including cycling, soccer, hockey, ice skating and dance. Originally, leg warmers were worn by dancers. They were worn to keep the muscles of the leg from cramping after stretching. In the early 1980s, leg warmers became fashionable. In continuation to leg warmers, let us now take a look at other soft accessories that are worn on the leg and the feet. They are socks, hoses, and stockings. Now, all of you at one point or the other in your life would have worn socks. In India, socks are a big part of school uniforms. Before we look at socks and stockings in detail, I would like to introduce to you a word that I had mentioned in the introductory part of this unit. Yes, hoiseri. Hoiseri is also sometimes referred to in the common language as legwear. It describes garments worn directly on the feet and legs. Sometimes the term is also used for all types of knitted fabric when its thickness and weight is defined by denier or opacity. A maker or seller who deals in hoiseri is known as a hosier. The word by itself is said to have come from the ancient word hose, also pronounced as hosea in the ancient past. Now, hosea was a medieval garment that men wore on their legs. Socks. Socks today are an elasticated knitted accessory that cover the feet and a portion of the legs. They help protect the legs from heat and cold and also aid in wicking away sweat. They form a barrier between the legs and the leather of the shoes and therefore are worn along with closed-toe shoes. Socks can be formal or casual. They can be solid, striped or patterned. Neutral color socks are a part of formal gentlemanly attire, while color socks are reserved for quirky casual outings for men. Women, though, can have a field day with socks. Styles of socks. Now, styles of socks can be categorized based on their length. Your socks could be thigh-high, knee-high, up to the ankle. You can also be wearing toe socks or sole socks. Many people consider socks to be a childish accessory when it comes to women's styling. Yes, for men, it is considered to be a formal accessory. But when it comes to women, people think that stockings are more appropriate for a grown woman than socks. Yes, I do agree that socks are not the best accessories to give you a formal appearance. But then we have seen several trends in the past where socks have been clubbed with closed-toe shoes like your Mary Janes to give a schoolgirl sort of a look. Now, socks are available in various fabrics. They don't have to be the chunky knitted socks that you wore at school. They could be made up of lace. They could be made up of thin, shimmery materials that elevate your look and add to your glamour. However, it is important to make sure that you don't overdo them. Wearing socks with sandals or open-toe shoes might work in an extremely casual setting when you're going for a quirky look. So it is best left at that. Young girls, teenagers can experiment with different lengths of socks like thigh-high socks and knee-length socks along with their skirts in order to come up with very interesting looks that might suit their personality. Stockings. The next topic that I'm going to talk to you about is about stockings. Stockings are close-fitting coverings which are generally translucent. They cover the legs from feet to the thigh, or sometimes go only up to the knee. Fishnet stockings and even sheer socks are considered to be sexy. Added embellishments like lace bits, ruffles, bows and ribbons add to this charm. So stockings and socks don't just have to be dowdy. Stocking could have different types of reinforcement at the heel and at the toe. Open-toe stockings are those that stop at the base of the toe, with a piece of fabric going between the first and the second toes. These are generally worn with open-toed footwear. Printed stockings and pantyhose that have prints of tattoos are very interesting. These act just like tattoo sleeves. They give the impression of the wearer being tattooed, even when he or she is not. This is great for people who want to try out the look without actually having to get the tattoo and go through the pain. Black stockings are often worn by those following goth and punk subcultures and yes, fetish practices. Pantyhose. Sheer stockings that cover the body from waist to the tip of the toe is called a pantyhose. It is typically made up of a nylon spandex blend, where the panty portion is made up of a thicker material than the leg and the feet portions. Now, here the feet portion can also be reinforced just like regular stockings. The panty portion along with the waist could also be reinforced to ensure durability and even to have an added control top option, which will, yes, of course, showcase a slimmer figure. Socks and stockings are accessories that we are very familiar with. But do you know how they came into being? Evolution of socks and stockings. A study of costume history states that the earliest socks were woolen and predated the knitting technique. However, until the 16th century, socks and stockings were made by hand. There were very few differences between the two then. Then, William Lee invented the knitting loom, where the knitting was 8 times faster than hand knitting. But then, sadly, he was denied a patent as his machine was unable to produce fine silk stockings that met with Queen Elizabeth's standards. Fast forward, we come to the Victorian period. Victorian stockings were fabulous. They were made from embroidered silk, wool, linen, or polished cotton called lisle, and were held up by knit garters that were attached to corsets. Often, they had a lacy welt at the top of the stocking to help keep it in place. Before the 1900s, stockings were said to be typically worn for warmth. However, as the hemline of the dresses rose in the 1910s and 1920s, women started to wear flesh-color stockings to cover up their exposed legs. With the introduction of rayon, art silk stockings began to replace wool and silk stockings. Stockings became finer. They could become sheer. In the past, stockings were fastened only with a garters and a belt, known as the garter belt system. Other supports include stay-ups and garters that are used even today. They hold up the stocking by clamping to the leg. Now, how can we discuss stockings without discussing the nylon revolution. In 1930, Wallace Hume Carothers, Julian Hill, and other researchers for the DuPont Company studied polymers in an attempt to find a substitute for silk. This work eventually culminated in the production of nylon, which replaced the silk in stockings. These nylon stockings were sheer, they were strong, and they were not affected by water like the rayon stockings. It is a documented fact that in New York in 1940, when these nylon stockings went on sale, these sold over 72,000 pairs on the first day alone. However, during World War II, nylon was used to make glider tow ropes and aircraft fuel tanks, mosquito netting and hammocks. It was said to be the fiber that could win the war. With no nylon left for stockings, they were often bought in the black market. So women who could not have access to nylon stockings painted a seam on their legs with makeup to give off an impression of wearing nylons. After the war, the reintroduction of nylon stockings unleashed what is known as the nylon riots. Up till 1959, only seamless and fully fashioned stockings with seams at the back were available. Then pantyhose took the world by storm. With Mary Quant introducing mini skirts, stockings and pantyhose rose quickly to the top of the chart. Slowly, by 1980s, the fashion of wearing stockings and pantyhose declined. By end of 90s, it was reserved for ultra-conservative looks and evening wear. It was still worn. Christian brides continued to wear them and wear them even today. In the 2000s and 2010s, the wearing of stockings or pantyhose was considered cumbersome, and women decided to go natural. With more and more women being confident of their fit bodies, this progression only seemed natural. Ironically, stockings and pantyhose today are available in a variety of colors, patterns, materials and blends. Features like control top, compression panels and leg muscle toning and contour are used. So, nowadays, stockings and pantyhose are worn for these additional features than for the original purpose of warmth or modesty. At the present, stockings have been replaced by sheer tights, almost a throwback to the hosea or the hose that inspired them in the first place. TV stars like Zooey Deschanel and Emily Osment have been the torchbearers of the sheer tights trend. If you look around the social media, you would see more and more pictures of celebrities pairing their short dresses or even their evening wear with these sheer tights. With that, we come to the end of this module on soft accessories for the body. Conclusion. In this module, we have considered several types of soft accessories that can be worn on the body, in addition to the shawls and scarves that we already discussed in Unit 3. Gloves, belts, suspenders, muff and warmers, and finally socks were some of the accessories that we discussed. We also talked about gloves and their symbolism. I elaborated upon the types of belts, buckles and their uses. We also considered the importance of these accessories from a fashion point of view and how it has changed through the ages. We also stole a sneak peek into accessories known as warmers. Warmers are items that are meant to keep the wearer warm. Earmuffs, in addition, also protect the wearer from noise. Arm warmers and leg warmers though intended as protection against the cold, are now fashion accessories. In the section on socks and stockings, we discussed the term hosiery. We considered both the practicality and the fashion implications of socks and stockings in our society. There are several other soft accessories that can be worn on the body. After all, as and when accessory designers get creative, more and more fashion accessories get added to the list. At this point, I would urge you to go back to your learning diary. Look at all the soft accessories that you own. Go online. Check out what the celebrities are wearing on social media. What do you think is the trend at the moment? Are they wearing tights? What kind of belts are they wearing? Make a note of them. Also check what kind of belts and buckles are worn for formal occasions and what can be worn with casual wear. How can you style an outfit using soft accessories like gloves or belts? I want to also urge you to check the use of gloves in Indian society. How do we use them in the fashion context? Does it make sense to us in our country? All these recordings should be noted down in your learning diary. They can be combined with suitable images of the products that are printouts or sketches. I hope that you will continue to maintain this learning diary throughout the duration of the course, and you can add to it as we proceed. Let us now proceed to Module 2 of this unit, which will introduce you to watches. 1916 onwards, a new trend began. What was a part of a military equipment became an article of everyday use. It became fashionable. It was a bracelet that acted as a clock. Time, money, and energy was poured into projects that made this object not only technically advanced but also fashionable. This object is one of the most important accessories of both status and functionality. It is none other than the wristwatch. At a point in time when wristwatches are once again being pushed back by smartphones, it is imperative that we study why this accessory came into being, what made it special, and why they will never become obsolete. Before I start talking to you about the evolution of watches, there is a term that I would like to introduce to you: horology. Horology is the science and art of measuring time. It includes the study, design, and manufacturing of clocks, watches, and other timepieces. Now let us look at the components of a wristwatch and their design. Now, most of you might own a wristwatch or two. They might be analog or digital. They might be a mechanical watch. You might even own a smartwatch. But do you know how these watches work and what these components are? Come, now let us take a look at it. Both men and women's watches can largely be divided into two. One that is beach-weld and used purely for look, and other with mechanical complications in additions to aesthetics. In beach-weld watches, even the crown that is used to set the time is studded with a stone. I would like to show you a reference of a watch that is beach-weld and has a metal strap, and one that has a leather strap but has an oversized dial. So now, what are the parts of the watch? This part, which is like the bracelet that goes around your hand, is called the strap. The portion that houses the actual watch is called the casing. The dial, as you can see with the face markings on it, is fitted inside the casing. This portion here that connects the casing with the watch face is called as a bezel. Now the bezel here has stones studded on it. This is why it is known as a bejeweled or a jeweled watch. This watch has very few mechanical complications. So you can see only the crown here that is used to set the time. If you look at watches like the chronograph or a diver's watch, you might also see other knobs to the side. Now this watch that I have here is a casual watch, a knockoff. So here you can see pictures of subdials inside. But in a mechanical complications watch, again like a chronograph or a diver's watch, you can actually see real dials inside that perform their own functions. Traditionally, women's watch casings are much smaller and thinner, and the straps can be of any color. Men's watches are bolder yet minimal. Watch casings can be made using various materials. They include stainless steel, tungsten carbide, silver, gold, and even platinum. In terms of casing shape, round, square, rectangle, tornado, that is barrel, are worn by both men and women, while shapes such as oval, diamond, courage, and asymmetrical dials are usually worn only by women. The glass that covers the face of the watch to protect it from dirt and water is called crystal. Now crystal can be mineral based or acrylic based. Sapphire mineral coated crystal watches are extremely expensive yet popular in the luxury market. Crystals are secured to the casing using a bezel, just like I described before. On the face of the watch, a dial can be marked in many different ways. They include Arabic numerals, Roman numerals, sticks, that is lines and dots, and even California, which is a mix of Roman, sticks, and Arabic numerals. Now, you might have noticed that many watches have glow-in-the-dark hands, or markings or dial edgings that glow. The substance that was originally used for this purpose was radium. But in the 1950s, radium was found to be highly radioactive, and it was replaced with tritium. Tritium, though commonly used, is now being replaced in high-end brands with superluminova, which is 3 times as bright as tritium. Watches with leather straps use the Ardelian buckle, and those with metal straps use the diploin buckle. The diploin buckle, as you can see here, was invented by Louis Cartier. Watch movement is a term that you must be familiar with if you are studying watches. Watch movement refers to the mechanism that runs the watch. You must also notice I've used the word complications many a times in the previous section. A watch complication is a function that exists in addition to telling time. Watches with multiple complications are highly sought after because of the innovation in design, complexity, precision, and skill that is required to create such pieces. Watch complications include date, chronograph, time zone, power reserve, moon phase, minute repeater, and even tourbillon. Now, wristwatch is an accessory that most of us own and a lot of us take for granted. So, are you not curious to know the history and evolution of watches and how they came to exist in their present avatar? While the exact date of the origin of clocks cannot be pinpointed, most ancient civilizations used sundials to estimate time. Clocks were used in ancient India, Egypt, Babylon, Greece, and China to identify solstice and divide days into the then version of hours. Sand clocks and water clocks too were used to measure time. The ancient Ghatika Yantra, that is the water clock of India, finds mention in many historical accounts. Moving forward came the pocket watch. Now, it was not possible to carry around a clock wherever you go. This called for an invention of portability, an accessory that you could readily carry or wear that would help you be punctual at all times. Now, this called for an accessory that you could wear or carry around with you that would help you be punctual at all times. Thereby, the pocket watch came into existence. The creation of the first modern mechanical clock, a pocket watch, is attributed to the German locksmith Peter Henlein in 1510, even though several other clocksmiths had created clocks and pocket watches before him. In fact, one of the oldest working clocks is found at Salisbury Cathedral. It was completed in 1386. Now, Peter's speciality was his ability to create small, spring-powered brass clock which could be worn as a pendant or in the pocket. However, these were not accurate but were often hours late. In the 1540s, the reformer John Calvin banned people from wearing jewelry. As a consequence, Europeans started looking for other intricate accessories to wear, leading to the birth of the Swiss watch industry. The 1570s saw the predecessor of the wristwatch, known as the arm watch. The popularity of pocket watches was propelled when Charles II of England introduced waistcoats and accessorized them with pocket watches. At this point, the shape was curved and flattened to avoid sharp edges from damaging his clothing. The clock face was also covered with glass in 1610 to protect the hands from damage. In 1680, minute hands were added to watches. The first self-winding mechanism was invented in 1770 by Abraham Louis Perlet. He devised a mechanical device, a perpetual watch. This watch, by his calculations, could transfer energy created by the movement of the user's body into enough power to power the automatic clock for nearly 8 days. With availability of cheaper materials and upgrades in technology, came mass production of these watches in the 19th century. This called for a change on how pocket watches were being wound. Key winding was replaced by keyless winding, where the pocket watch was wound by turning the crown. Slowly, we inched towards the discovery of the wristwatch. Then came the wristwatches. In 1812, the first wristwatch was said to be created for the Queen of Naples. Wristwatches then were primarily worn by women, as they were also known as bracelet watches. In 1880, Constant Jura of Jura-Perregaux mass-produced 2,000 wristwatches for German naval officers, and thus wristwatches became more popular for men in the military. Brazilian aviator Alberto Santos Dumont approached Louis Cartier to come up with a watch that would allow him to keep both hands on the controls while timing flights. This led to Cartier and Edmund Eger developing the famous Santos wristwatch. Hans Willdorf then registered the brand Rolex in the year 1908. With that, we come to the World War. The World War I proved to be a great influence on the watch industry. Now let us take a look at what happened during World War I and the period after that. During the First World War, soldiers were given wristwatches called trench watches to keep their hands free. They were required to have a luminous wristwatch that was made up of unbreakable crystal. They were worn on leather straps and allowed for accurate coordination of attacks. After the war, small wristwatches with automatic winding came into being. Rolex added a new system of weights, which had up to 35 hours of work when fully charged. In 1912, the New York Times declared the bracelet watch to be the fashion of the hour. In 1926, Rolex created their first waterproof watch named Oyster. Here you can see a quirky ad showing the actual visual merchandising from a store that sold Oyster watches. The World War II and after. During World War II, the military specified round watches for service. In 1948, Eterna watch introduced ball bearings to the automatic watch designs, enabling better control over the internal components. It also had the ability to preserve the structural integrity of the watch even when it was dropped on the ground. In 1954, a watch that could track 2 time zones simultaneously, the GMT Master, was created for pilots of jet aeroplanes. In 1957, with Hamilton's Ventura, electronic watches came into existence. In the 1970s, quartz watches became more and more affordable, and Seiko, the Japanese brand, became a world leader in precision watchmaking. Slowly, the watchmaking industry in Switzerland started to dwindle. In 1978, the Japanese challenged the Swiss watchmakers by launching a watch with a thickness of 2.5 mm. The Swiss took up the challenge and began the development of beryllium tremens that was only 0.98 mm thick. Casio's metal calculator watches of the 80s took the world by storm as they were symbols of efficiency, status and modernity. As a counterbalance, Swatch watches with plastic casings also became extremely popular. The 1990s saw the arrival of spot watches. These watches use radio signals to report news, weather, stock prices and sports scores in a subscription-based model. Thus was born your smartwatch. In India, Titan started to advertise their watches as the perfect gift for a loved one. Couple watch sets became popular. 2000s saw a growth in the luxury watch segment. Watches with built-in Bluetooth or Wi-Fi connectivity has now become the order of the day. Watches that send SOS signal at the push of a button, or those with hailing beacon, have come to become prized possessions in this century. Smartwatches have bridged the fitness trend with the fashion trends and communication, gaining a strong foothold in the market. But with smartwatches and mobile phone clocks showing time as words or in the hour-minute-second format, it could mean that an entire generation of people, of children who do not know how to read time by looking at an analog watch face. What the future of the watch industry will bring, we do not know, but it is bound to be exciting for sure. With that, let us move on to the next section on the different types of watches that are available in the market. Types of watches. There are various types of watches. I'm going to be listing a few for you today. Analog watch, digital watch, GMT watch, mechanical watch, quartz watch, chronograph, diving watch, dress watch, smart watch and luxury watch. Now let us take a look at what differentiates these watches in these different categories. Analog watches have displays with a miniature clock face with 12 hours, an hour hand and a minute hand, and sometimes even a second hand. They will have Arabic or Roman numerals printed on the face. These are your traditional watches. On the contrary, a digital watch is a watch in which the hours, minutes and sometimes seconds are indicated by digits rather than by hands on a dial. GMT watches have an additional hand that is geared to run half as fast as the hour hand and a 24-hour scale on the chapter ring or on the bezel. This allows users to track two time zones simultaneously. A mechanical watch is a watch that uses mechanisms to measure the passage of time, as opposed to modern quartz watches which function electronically. Mechanical watches are driven by a spring called the mainspring, which must be wound periodically. This makes the ticking sound, which is the characteristic of mechanical watches. The second hand on a mechanical watch has almost a continuous motion, while the second hand on a quartz watch ticks once per second. That brings us to the quartz watch. A quartz watch, very simply put, is powered by a battery. It has an electronic oscillator synchronized by quartz crystal. The electric current causes the quartz inside to pulsate with precise frequency. The frequency is broken down through an integrated circuit where power is released through a small stepping motor. This sets the watch hands in motion. Quartz watches, because they are run on battery, will require battery replacements from time to time. Chronograph. A chronograph is a specific type of watch that can be used as a stopwatch combined with a display watch. It has an independent sweep second hand. That means that it can be started, stopped and returned to zero by successive pressures on the stem. Now many people confuse chronograph with a chronometer. Both are very different from each other. A chronometer is a designation given to a watch that has higher standards of precision. The designation is given to automatic and mechanical movement watches and not those that are run with a quartz movement. On the other hand, chronograph refers to a stopwatch. Diving watch. Also called as a dive watch or a diver's watch, a diving watch is designed for underwater diving. It is usually an automatic watch with water resistance of around 200 meter to 300 meter. It might even go up to 380 meters. Some dive watches include additional features like shock resistance and anti-magnetic functions. Older dive watches had tritium lume for glow in the dark feature. But now, most of dive watches, at least in the luxury segment, have now shifted to super luminova. Next is a dress watch. A dress watch is a formal watch that is classic and elegant. It pairs well with formal and dressy attire. A woman's dress watch may be a little more ornamental compared to a man's dress watch. A smartwatch. A smartwatch is a portable device that can have a touch screen, it can support apps, and can even read and record heart rate and other vital signs. You can also get notifications for text, calls, and social media messages. Today, you get both touchscreen as well as hybrid screen smartwatches. The final category that we are going to look at is that of the luxury watch. Luxury watches are high-end watches made with precise calculations using high-quality materials. They could have multiple complications or simply be a jeweled watch. Jeweled watches are studded with gemstones like rubies, sapphire and diamond and could be made in gold, silver and even platinum as well. A fully jeweled manual wind watch with no complications can accommodate up to 17 jewels. Now that we have seen the categories of watches, it is very important to look at the quality of watch. Whenever we think of quality standards in a watch, we automatically think of a Swiss watch. So what is that separates a Swiss watch from other watches? Swiss watches are considered to be the highest quality of watches. They can be easily recognized by the markings on the case. A Swiss-made watch is one that has a Swiss movement, is set into its case in Switzerland by a manufacturer of Swiss origin. A Swiss movement is defined as a movement that was assembled in Switzerland by a Swiss-based manufacturer, whose Swiss movement parts constitute 50% or more of the movement's total value. Such watches will carry the words Swiss, Swiss made or Swiss quartz on the back of the case. If just the inside parts of the watch are Swiss, but the case is not, the markings will say Swiss movement. If it is vice versa, that is, the case is Swiss, but the movement is not, it will say Swiss case. It is very important to know to be able to differentiate between these markings so that you are not duped when you are buying a luxury watch of your choice. Fashion and style aspect of watches. Watches are phenomenal accessories in a sense that they marry perfectly engineering with art. Thus, they are highly prized in the fashion world. A watch is considered a style marker and can be used to show off your status and your fashion sense. Your watch can be selected not just to match the occasion, the activity and the dress that you're wearing, but also your mood and personality. Watches, like jewelry, can carry symbolic value. They can be passed through generations. Vintage watches that have a story to tell can be collected and worn as well. Do you know what are the top luxury brands in the market today? Top luxury watch brands include Rolex, Tag Heuer, Patek Philippe, Cartier, Audemars Piguet, Chopard, Girard-Perregaux. Brands like Seiko, Longines, Tommy Hilfiger, and Fossil also have a place of importance in the watch industry. Affordable watch brands include Timex and Casio. Famous watch brands of India are Titan and Maxima. In India, Titan controls more than 60 to 70% of the market share with its sub-brands such as Xylus, Sonata, Fastrack and Titan Raga along with the parent brand of Titan. Now coming to styling your watches or to selecting the right watches for your attire. Minimal two-tone metal watches are multi-purpose watches. These are no-fuss options for everyday wear for both men and women. Men looking for a dress watch to match their formals can go for a leather strap with a thin casing. They can choose brown or tan leather watch strap in case they are light-skinned and dark brown or black strap if they are dark-skinned. The idea is that the watch must complement, never overpower. But those looking to make a statement can go for oversized casings. Now casual watches are for everyday use and are meant to be worn with casual attire. Casual watches come with straps in leather, rubber, fabric or sometimes even metal. They can be worn by both men and women along with said casual attire. For those looking to dabble with technology, a smartwatch is a suitable choice. Once again gender neutral, a smartwatch can have a touchscreen or be a hybrid. Now that we come to the end of this unit, I hope I have interested you in the world of watches. Do tell me, what is your favorite watch brand? What do you think is special about them? What are the styles that are available in the market that are appealing to you? I want you to make a note of the answers to these questions in your learning diary. I urge you to select a watch brand of your choice. Look at their history, their evolution. What were the different changes in style, color, material they have made through the ages? How has technological upgradation and evolution helped them in the process? You can also look at the fashion trends at the moment and see how these technological advancements and design interpretations have contributed to the fashion trend. You can also go visit a watch store in a mall and see how these watches are being displayed, how they are being handled, and how they are being packaged. Make a note of all these points in your learning diary. Unlike other accessories, or even jewelry for that matter, a watch is not selected based on the color of your clothes. It is not chosen to match your exact attire. Rather, it should be chosen in such a way that it conveys who you are and what you hope to accomplish on that day. With this, we come to the end of this module. Here is what I would like to offer you by way of conclusion. Watches are not just worn because they keep you punctual. They are worn because they are convenient, sturdy and durable. More than anything, they signal status and style. Mechanical functions in a watch that provide additional features like date, moon phase, minute repeater are called complications. A watch could have many are none of these complications. A quartz watch is one of the most bought watches in the market, as it's punctual, economical and easy to maintain. High-end luxury watches have more complications built in them. They can also be jeweled. Watch faces can also be used as jewelry making supplies to create necklaces and bracelets. There are many different types of watches that are available in the market, and many fashion brands that create, make and distribute them. You can choose your watch depending on your style quotient, your personality, and yes, of course, your budget. Let us now proceed to Module 3 of this unit, which will introduce you to the it arm candy of accessories, handbags. If you ask me to choose an item that is symbolic of women's independence in the Western world, I would, without hesitation, choose a handbag. Well, maybe not this miniature version, but a real life-sized handbag. The arrival of the handbag in the West indicated a societal shift. A woman could now travel, or at least take a walk on her own and carry the things that she needed for herself, by herself, without having to depend on somebody to do that for her. As the means of carrying these items progressed from chatelaines to bags and satchels, and being carried on the hand instead of the waist, the material culture and the objective completely changed. As items being carried by a woman were hidden from view, there arose a sense of intrigue and mystery. It changed social norms, and today it is impolite to open or look into a lady's handbag without her permission. Today, a bag is no longer a humble container that is used to simply store or transport goods. It is the it accessory that defines your look and style. But have you wondered, when did people start carrying bags, and how did it evolve to its present state? In this module about bags, wallets and purses, we will look at what differentiates each of them. We will discuss bags and wallets based on their shape, size and design. We will also take a look at some of the iconic bag designs and their designers. I would also let you on in some trade secrets on how to select the right bag and how you can style yourself with it. Before we start looking into the different designs of bags, let us first answer a burning question. What is the difference between a bag, a purse and a wallet? A bag. A bag is an umbrella term for a flexible container, which is used to store and transport items. It can be made in a variety of sizes using various materials like paper, fabric, leather and even plastic. It can be lined or unlined, with or without a closure. Additionally, it can be disposable or not based on the material. It can be worn or carried in the hand. It could be worn on the shoulder or at the back. It could range in size from a small clutch or a box bag to even heavy luggage. In comparison to a bag, what is a purse? How do you think a purse is different? A purse is a small bag and it's usually associated with carrying money. However, the words purse and handbag are interchangeably used in most circles, as both are used to carry several small items like makeup, keys, money purse, a pen and yes, a cell phone. A purse can be held and carried in hand or worn over the shoulder with a strap. A purse can be plain or ornamented on its surface. Now let's move on to the third item on our list, a wallet. A wallet is a small, flat case made of leather or fabric, and it is designed to hold cash, that is, both notes, coins, and yes, credit cards. Additionally, it is also created to hold identification documents like a driver's license. A regular, that is a typical leather wallet, is a bifold. It can have many sections, some even closed with a zipper or a snap button. This is typically your coin pouch. Wallets are usually minimal in design and on the surface, as they are meant to be carried inside a bigger bag or a purse or in a garment pocket. While discussing bags, it is very important to talk about their association to gender. While bigger bags are considered unisex, purses and handbags are considered typically a female item. Wallets are considered a male item. This is not to say that men cannot carry handbags or women cannot use wallets. This is just a gender association that has been prevalent in society. You have handbags that are being called as man bags. You have wallets for women specifically labeled that way. It is up to you to choose what you want based on how comfortable you are with a particular object and how much you like it. Now let me link back to the first unit of the series where I discussed materials that are used to make accessories. So what are the commonly used materials that are used to create bags? All of you might know about leather bags. Non-leather, that is faux leather bags, bags made up of rexine or polyurethane fabrics are also quite common in the market. Then yes, woven fabric. Fabrics such as canvas, denim, hemp, jute blends, silk satin, silk velvet, and even polyester versions of satin and velvet are commonly used to create bags. Then of course there is the non-woven fabric bag segment. In India, it is very common to see non-woven bags. You can see them as shopping bags, as return gift bags, especially when you attend a wedding. Then, for the eco-conscious, there are paper bags and bags made up of recycled materials. Then of course, the object that all of us love to hate, plastic bags. Under this category, you can see bags made up of polyester, polypropylene, high density or low density polyethylene. In the course of this unit, apart from bags being referred to their shape and size and materials, you will also commonly hear words such as luggage or baggage. Now, what are these words and how are they different? Let me offer you a sneak peek. Luggage versus baggage. The words luggage and baggage have much in common and have been used interchangeably. While the word baggage particularly refers to a sack to carry things in, the word luggage refers to the act of carrying or lugging around items. Baggage is also a lot more figurative and has an emotional quotient tied to it, such as emotional baggage. I hope that this section would have given you a little bit of an introduction on what is about to come next. Now, let me answer one of the questions I asked in the beginning. When do you think people started using bags? How did they come to be? Where and how and when did all your designer luxury brands evolve? Let us take a look at the history and evolution of bags. Bags have been in use for a lot of centuries. Because of their long and colorful history, I'm going to be dividing them into parts. Now first, let us consider the Western history and evolution of bags. Think of an era where pockets were yet to be introduced. Bags and pouches, and yes, satchels too, served the need of men carrying items. Now these could be trinkets for sale in a peddler's bag, or they could be official documents that were carried by an officer's servant or an assistant. In the West, until the 15th century, pouches were used to store and carry coins that were often strapped or tied to the waist belt or the girdle. They were made of leather or silk depending on the status and the wealth of the wearer. Small purses called almonas, arm bags that were used to hold coins that were later distributed to the poor as alms, were also used. The sporrans worn by the Scottish Highlanders were symbols of status and power as well. Large bags of leather were used to carry books and letters in Europe. Bags with straps were less common and were used on hunts to probably carry bird feed or game. In the 16th century, men used buckle bags with a number of pockets, some of which had secret compartments too. You might notice that until this time, I only mentioned men carrying bags. Yes, men carrying bags was a frequent sight to see, unlike today, when it is the women who carry handbags. Now moving on into the later Middle Ages, chatelaines were popular. A chatelaine was a hook with chains to which small utensils could be attached. They could be small items too, such as keys, knife cases, scissors, or sewing tools. Now these were worn by women inside the house. They were also considered jewelry, and versions of them which were bejeweled and crafted from precious metals were also available. Now looking at the shape and the utility of these things, I am reminded of the Indian challa. So could these chatelaines have been influenced by the Indian chabika challa, which are worn by women to keep the keys around the waist, or could it have been the other way around? This is something that is worth exploring. In the 17th and 18th centuries, women's clothing was so voluminous that pocket bags could be worn underneath the skirt. Known as thigh pockets, they were usually worn in pairs, one hanging from each hip. They could be plain or embroidered. The late Renaissance also saw the creation of the flat evening bag, which was decorated with coat of arms for identification. From time to time, silk pocketbooks or pocket cases were used to hold small items such as cash, letters, and other small items like maybe even scissors or pencils. Then came the indispensables or the reticules in the 19th century, as the sleek umpire fashion was in vogue and did not leave any place for your bulky pockets. Now these reticules were quite similar to the now Indian portly bags. The reticules were used to carry items like handkerchief, smelling salts, and yes, eventually money. They were embroidered and embellished, often as a symbol of status and of the skill of the woman who made and wore them. With the onset of the Industrial Revolution, many new manufacturing methods and techniques were invented. As people travelled more frequently, bags were developed for the men and women who travelled. In 1841, Yorkshire entrepreneur Samuel Parkinson engaged the services of a London-based luxury leather goods company called H.J. Cave & Sons to create purses and luggage of various sizes for his wife. This led to the design of the Ursulite trunk, and it became one of the most popular trunks of all times. Initially, the trunks had a dome-shaped lid to keep the water away from going into the trunk. Later became flat. In 1854, the Louis Vuitton label was founded by Vuitton as an alternative to the Hedje Cave Ursulite trunk. Vuitton's trunks were not only durable but also stylish and allowed for easy stacking during train or ship voyages because they had a flat top too. By 1885, the company opened its first store in London and has been successful ever since. In 1886, they were the first ones to introduce a single lock system with 2 spring buckles that ensured the safety of the luggage. This came to be known as the unpickable lock. An interesting tidbit about this luxury brand is that their Noe bag, which is considered to be the world's first bucket bag made in 1932, was actually developed to hold 5 bottles of champagne. Louis Vuitton today is indisputably a global luxury fashion brand with its iconic LV monogram and damier checks on its bags. Moving on into the 20th century. The early 20th century saw a variety of exotic bags made with textiles, tapestry, and they were largely embellished with ribbons, beads and lace. Oriental styles, Renaissance landscapes, floral patterns, images of beautiful women were used in bags. As the suffragettes patronized practical leather shoulder bags, fashions of the 1920s followed suit. They offered slim handheld bags that were worn close to the body. Hermes transformed saddle and feed bags into high fashion accessories. In the 1930s, Robert Dumas designed a stiff ladies' handbag. 2 decades later, the yet-to-be Princess of Monaco, Grace Kelly, fell in love with a bag during the shooting of a movie To Catch a Thief. You might have guessed it right. It is none other than the iconic Kelly bag. Now, World War II brought with it restrictions on a number of materials and eventually influenced the classic styles of the 1940s. Handheld bags shaped like envelopes were made of fabrics enclosed with flaps. The Coco Chanel 2.55 bag that was introduced in 1955 was an iconic bag that is trendy even today. At the time, it was unusual as the quilted bag was hands-free as it was worn with a long double chain shoulder strap. In the 1960s and 70s, long shoulder bags, fringed bags, and the ones equivalent to Indian jolas became popular in the West due to the hippie culture. Macrame and crochet bags became popular too. With the rise of the DIY culture, bags that could be made with detachable handles came into existence and offered a variety of choices for women. In the 1980s, Margaret Thatcher set the tone for defiantly expensive handbags that were a symbol of power. Then arose the concept of it bags. As defined by Tom Ford, these it bags were definitely the must-have. He said, "You gotta have it or you will die." You can note that here, exclusivity was given precedence over functionality. Designer bags became so popular that you had to be on a wait list for years to buy one. In the 90s and 2000s, as a consequence, there were a plethora of fakes and knockoff bags that were available in the market. Eventually, their popularity died down due to anti-cruelty protests. The last decade has seen the rise of faux leather and fabric bags due to the rejection of leather and yes, the vegan movement. However, the market for luxury designer brands is not one that will diminish easily. Several designer brands like Prada, Chanel, Fendi, Hermes, Gucci, Balenciaga continue to rule the roost when it comes to your favorite arm candy. Indian history of bags. Unlike the West, the ancient Indians were no strangers to bags. Bags filled with goods were sealed for transport and business since the Harappan times. Drawstring bags were used to carry coins, seals and jewelry since the Vedic period. Hindu myths like Ramayana and Mahabharata paint a picture of those in exile carrying their meager possessions in a cloth satchel, often knotted to a stick for the ease of carrying. The Gaumukhi bags, which are small bags in the shape of a cow's mouth, are used to carry prayer beads or Japamala beads even today and are used for prayers and meditation. You might think that a portly such as this is a contribution of the Indo-Western fashion, but this is not entirely true. Portlies have been in constant use for a lot of centuries in India, not only as bags that were carried outside the house, but also as those that have been in use in a lot of different spheres of life. Portlies have been used as spice bags, as money bags or purkuri, herbal and medicine bags in everyday use. Jola bags, that is sling cloth bags, have been traditionally used to carry supplies by both Hindu and Muslim traders in ancient and medieval India. This practice was reinstituted during our freedom struggle when people took to carrying Jola bags made up of khadi fabrics. Embroidered and embellished bags such as this, or your faithful portly, made in northern and western parts of India, form a very big part of the wedding trousseau. The practice continues to current times when raw silk, velvet and even polyester portlies are decorated with beads, stones, sequins, mirrorwork and other festive tassels to create festive wear, occasion wear bags. You would have also seen return gift bags such as this being distributed at weddings and other religious functions. Mirrorwork and patchwork Jola bags such as this can be commonly sighted on fashion runways today, with a large number of designers exploring their form and function. Indian celebrities, on the other hand though, carry bags of international brands such as Chanel, Dior, Balenciaga, Celine, Prada for a greater international standing. With this, I hope that I would have provided you a sneak peek of the evolution of bags both in the West as well as in India. In this section, I'm going to help you identify different types of bags based on some of these criteria. Before we move on to identifying bags, we need to know the difference between a shoulder bag and a handbag. Shoulder bag versus a handbag. While shoulder bags are bags carried over the shoulder using one or more straps, handbags are typically carried in the hand like this or with a handle. Most regular handbags also have a shoulder strap. While handbags are supposed to be smaller than shoulder bags, they can be larger too, depending on the fashion trend at the moment. Moving on, let us take a look at different types of bags. There is an exhaustive list of bags with so many variations that are possible. However, the scope of this section is limited to a few bags that I'm going to list now. The first bag that we are going to look at is a tote. A tote is a medium to large bag with two parallel handles or straps such as this. It is rectangular, softer, slimmer version of a carry-all. It is an open bag, usually left unfastened or fastened at the top using a snap button, or in this case a zipper. It is a cloth bag that could be made using woven or non-woven fabrics such as this. You must recognize this from shopping bags that you get in a lot of different stores. Because it is a fabric-based bag, it can be solid, it can be printed, embellished or embroidered to create fancy variations. Since the bag is unlined, it is collapsible and foldable, thereby making it a reusable shopping bag. A shopper is a big fancy tote that is used for shopping. There is also an Indian version of your tote bag which is made up of silk and embellished so that it suits your ethnic attire. The next bag that I'm going to talk about is a satchel. A satchel is a soft, sided bag with a strap. The strap is often worn so that it diagonally crosses the body, with the bag hanging on the opposite hip. The back of the satchel extends to form a flap that folds over to cover the top and fastens the front. The satchel school bag that is commonly used in India has two straps instead of one, and it is worn at the back, which is different from the regular satchels. This bag that I have here with me is a cross between a satchel and a sling bag, and because of its size could also be called as a purse. Is it confusing? Now let me give you a few more examples on other types of bags to make it clearer for you. Hobo. A hobo bag is a mid-size to a large size, crescent-shaped, slouchy bag with a zipper closure. It is said to be inspired by the bags that were carried by hobos, that is, with a stick. The soft, slouchy shape allows you to carry a lot of small items in the bag, making it the perfect lady's bag. A clutch is a small purse-like bag that is carried in the hand or tucked under the arm. Mostly, it does not have straps, but some clutches have chains like this, through which they can be worn on the shoulder. The clutch that I'm showing you here is a very plain, very basic minimal clutch. But there are a lot of bejeweled, fancy versions that are available for evening wear. The most popular and expensive clutches in the world are of Judith Leiber. Their rhinestone-studded whimsical designs, from French fries and cats to fishes, are a class apart. messenger bag. A messenger bag is a fabric or a leather bag worn over the shoulder sometimes, but usually across the chest, with a strap or a string that rests at the back when worn. Originally used by bicycle messengers, couriers and postmen to carry letters and small parcels, messenger bags are not your conventional fashion accessories. But today, there are many high-end luxury versions of these bags that have become extremely popular not only for men but also for women. Gladstone bag. Known as a doctor's bag, a Gladstone is a sturdy bag with a big base. With its many compartments, it is ideal for storing and retrieving things in a jiffy, which makes it extremely convenient during travel, not to mention very chic and stylish. Sling bag. A sling bag is a bag with a thin strap or a sling. When it is of smaller size, it can be a fashionable day or an evening bag. And when it is much larger, it is an alternative to a backpack. The right way to wear a mid to heavy sling is across the chest so that the bag rests at the side. Box bag. It is a stiff, box-like bag that could be made up of leather or metal. It is usually carried in hand or worn with a thin strap. Bucket bag. We already discussed Noe during our history and evolution discussion. This is a bag that has a round bottom and probably a drawstring closure at the top, though variations are aplenty. As I mentioned before, it was originally developed to carry champagne bottles. Laptop bag. Most of you would be common with a laptop bag, which is a rectangle padded bag with handles and a strap that is used to carry a laptop. While bags that come with laptops are typically in plain black, printed, colorful options are available in the market. You also get laptop sleeves, which are just the cover without the handle and the strap. Baguette bag. This is a purse that is relatively long from side to side and small from top to bottom. It almost looks like a French baguette, from which it derives its name. And yes, it has a small handle. We already discussed portly bags in our section on Indian history. Bags such as these are referred to as portly or drawstring bags and are commonly used with ethnic attire in India. This is an interesting Australian version of the same drawstring bag. Briefcase. A briefcase is a hard, narrow, box-shaped leather bag mainly used for carrying papers. An attached case, in addition, can carry a laptop as well. On similar lines, boxes made up of wood or tin can be used as novelty bags too. Apart from bags, there are items such as pouches that can be used to carry materials. This is a pencil pouch or a stationery pouch that is used by students and artists to carry pencils and pens. This is a multi-purpose pouch that has a small handle on the side which can be held or carried like this. You would also see metallic versions of pouches of this shape and size that are meant for casual party wear. Toiletry bags and cosmetic bags also come under this section of pouches. Now, let us look at another classification of bags that are worn on the body. I will reserve the discussion on backpacks for the next section where we discuss luggage bags. As an example for bags that are worn on the body, I would like to put forward the sporran, which is the Scottish purse worn typically by men on the waist. Another bag or pouch that is worn on the waist is the fanny pack. Though it is small to be considered a bag, it is one of the commonly used accessories, especially in the tourist segment. A fanny pack is a small pouch that is worn around the waist to carry cash, cards, tickets, and small items like a torchlight. Luggage bags. While totes as large as this can easily be used to carry luggage, luggage bags are a separate category by themselves. The first bag that I would like to discuss in this category is the well-known duffel bag. Named after the town Duffel, where the thick woolen fabric used to originally make these bags were made, a duffel bag is a cylindrical bag used for carrying luggage. While the original version of the bag has a rounded bottom, often with a string or a strap at the top that is used to close it, and it is also carried vertically. Newer versions include those with two rounded sides that can be carried in the hand like this, horizontally. In a similar context, a swag, which is Australian by origin, refers to a rolled up cylindrical mattress sleeping bag. A weekender. A weekender is a bag that is used to carry luggage, mainly clothes, for a 2-3 day stay or a weekend trip. On similar lines, an overnight bag is a bag that is used to carry a change of clothes with toiletries and other small items required for a one day or an overnight trip. You will notice that luggage bags have sturdier handles that are also softer because you have to carry them and they will have a lot of weight inside. You would also notice a lot of side pockets at the front and at the back. And the gusset could also be wide enough to accommodate different types, shapes and sizes of items that you put inside. If these bags are not enough for you, you can always choose a carry-all or a hold-all. A carry-all is a large bag used for carrying both small and large items, particularly during travel. It has strong handles and the bag can be made up of canvas, nylon or even leather. Finally, we come to the quintessential backpack that none of us can live without. A backpack is a bag that is carried on the back using shoulder straps. In large and heavy backpacks, the weight is also distributed along the chest, waist and hip using padded or adjustable straps. While small backpacks can be used as school bags, large ones are used during travel, especially for hiking and trekking. This is a fancy backpack that belongs to the new generation of lightweight bags. This is extremely flexible, can be folded, rolled, tucked in, and can be stored with other luggage when not in use. This is also flashy and colorful, meaning that it was created for young adults who are just venturing into traveling on their own. Bags such as this can also be used as daily wear for college use. A similar style of bag is also called a rucksack. Backpacks can also have frames, either internal or external, and and can be frameless too, just like the one that I showed you. Backpacks with titanium and aluminum frames are used for military applications, while those with plastic or flexible composite frames are used in mountaineering. Backpacks for carrying laptops and camera have padded sections that keep the items safe. Backpack handbags are small backpacks that can be carried in the hand instead of a mini-sized handbag. They are often light and can even be carried on one shoulder. This is an example of a backpack handbag that only has one shoulder strap. This is also a variation such that there are two pockets in the front, one covered with a flap and the other that looks like a wallet. It also has a hook here, which can be used to hook the bag to a bigger piece of luggage if you're too tired to carry it on your shoulder like this. Bags, the fashion accessory. Iconic bags. Apart from the Hermes Kelly and Noe discussed in this module, there are several other iconic bags or it bags that have and still continue to take the fashion world by storm. Now let us take a look at some of these iconic bags. Birkin. Created for Jane Birkin in the 1980s by Hermes, this large bag with gold or palladium plated buckles is one of the most coveted bags in the world. While there is a controversy regarding associating Jane's names with products made up of leather, particularly crocodile and ostrich leather, its popularity remains undiminished. The waiting list is several years long, as popularized by the famous TV serial Sex and the City. Lady Dior. Created in the mid-90s and a staple for Princess Diana, this quilted bag with round handles is the epitome of timeless elegance. Speedy. Created for actress Audrey Hepburn, Speedy by Louis Vuitton is a scaled-down day version of the Keep All travel bag. It is one of the most bought and used luxury brands of all times. Chloe Paddington. Launched in 2005, the Chloe Paddington bag is a soft, slouchy bag with the signature padlock hardware. The bag does not fully close, but there lies its charm. Despite the weight of the lock, it was an instant success upon the launch and continues its status as an it bag even today. The last up on my list is the Fendi baguette. In 1997, Silvia Venturini Fendi created the Fendi baguette, and over the years it has taken up many forms, colors, patterns and textures. They say there could be about 1,000 variations in existence now. One of the most famous instances of the baguette in media is the scene from Sex and the City where Carrie Bradshaw is robbed of her bag. Selection of bags. A selection of a bag, unlike other accessories, transcends just the look. Yes, the look of the bag is important. Its colors and its materials, the kind of hardware used on the bag, the texture are important as well. But you must also look into its suitability, its size and its shape and whether that suits you. More importantly, the occasion matters. You can balance your outfit with your bag in terms of size, shape and color to create an overall balanced and harmonious look. Or you can use it to create a contrast and add interest to your look. The next time you purchase a bag or you're selecting one for use, consider asking yourself these questions. Am I looking at a handbag that will merely be a fashion accessory, or a bag that will develop as a luggage? If you want a handbag that you can use during your travel, it needs to be roomy. It needs to have pockets in the front and the back. if not in the side, so that you can easily store and retrieve things during your travel. It should also be lighter compared to your simple day handbags, which can be more heavier or more fancier. The second question that I want you to ask yourself, what is the occasion? Is this bag meant for a festive wear, an occasion or an evening wear, or is it for everyday use? You cannot obviously carry a Judith Lieber every day. Maybe you can if you are a billionaire or a heiress. But for common folks, an everyday bag needs to be sturdy. It needs to be of material that can take the rough use. Many people think that leather is a material that has to be given a lot of care. Yes, it is important that we preserve our expensive leather bags. But leather is also an incredibly durable material, great for everyday wear. It can be cleaned very easily, requires only an occasional airing, and if maintained well, can last you for several decades. Also, while choosing your everyday bag, you have to see where are you going to take this bag to. Is it going to be an office bag? Is it going to be a college bag? A college bag needs to be a bit more roomy compared to an office bag, which needs to be more chic. Also, for an office bag, I would suggest a palette of neutral colors. For an office wear, I would suggest a palette of neutral colors, accentuated with colors such as teal or a pop of bright red. A green wouldn't hurt as well, for in handbags, green is considered to be a neutral color. Well, at least dark green is. The third question that I want you to ask yourself is this. It concerns styling and your look. Do I want to use the bag as a focal point of my look? Can it provide contrast, emphasis? Can it support me in terms of color, texture, size or shape? Or do I want it to be subtle? Do I want it to downplay things? Imagine that you have a fuchsia pink bag. The best way to wear it would be with a neutral dress. Something in off-white or black with, say, a pop of color elsewhere. Maybe fuchsia earrings or a lipstick or a statement-making ring. This would make you look incredibly well put together. Some people make the mistake of always matching their handbags and footwear. While there is no harm in doing so, it doesn't leave much scope for your creativity. Therefore, I urge you to explore. See if you want to match your handbag with your shoe or with your garment. Or do you want all three to contrast one another? If so, do you like the overall picture that you present? Bags, like any other fashion accessories, come with their own set of rules and fashion myths. While the choice to follow or debunk them is yours, I feel that it is my duty to introduce to you some of these fashion do's and don'ts. A big slouchy coat or a slim-fitted neck-to-toe ensemble can be balanced with a big bag. In the former case, it will balance out the size of the coat, and in the case of the latter, add volume. Large bags tend to make you appear larger, while slim bags, probably those with a sling, can make your silhouette leaner. But if you are on the plus side, it doesn't make much sense to carry a tiny purse. Though it might look absolutely exquisite in your hand, it might not do anything to balance your figure and to harmonize your look. Another myth is about matching shoes to your bag. It is not always necessary to match your bags and your shoes, but color coordinating them may help you look formal even when your attire is casual. Neutral colors like black, brown, tan and beige work well in such cases. You can also match your bags with accessories like belts or jewelry and not just shoes to create different looks. For instance, an embroidered clutch can be combined with a mirror-work belt and ethnic jewelry for an ethnic or an Indo-Western look depending on your outfit. You can also use your bag to create a contrast. Now, this contrast doesn't have to be restricted to color, but you can use it to introduce a contrasting texture, shape, or pattern to your look. You can also use it to add a little bit of bling in case of using an embellished bag or a purse. Whatever your choice, pay attention to stitch details, lining, and the quality of your closures, for these are directly responsible for the durability of the bag and how chic and elegant you look at the end of the day. Wallets. We have looked at a lot of different bags in details, but it's time to go back to the initial classification where we discussed wallets. Are there different types of wallets? If so, what are they? We have discussed bags in detail so far. So it's time to go back to the initial classification where we talked about wallets too. There are several different types of wallets that are available in the market. Let me introduce you to a few of them. Bifold. A traditional bifold that is folded in the middle is a leather wallet for men. It can also be made of fur leather or woven fabric. It may include small pouches or pockets for carrying coins. These are typically closed with a zipper or a snap button. A bifold wallet is sleek and versatile with several sections, some intended for carrying identification. You can also carry your plastic currency, that is credit cards, in them. While a lot of women carry the traditional bifold men's wallets, there are a separate category of women's wallets. They tend to be longer and larger compared to the men's wallets. If you notice here, this is an embossed leather lady's wallet, which can also be referred to as a purse. This is much longer compared to a traditional men's wallet, and you can see that it opens and closes with a flap. You also have clutch wallets like this, which lock down with a magnetic closure. These can be pulled open where various sections are visible. A purse like this will also have a zipper closure in the middle so that you can keep your coins. Wallets such as this are laminated and can be used as a clutch as well. The only thing that differentiates a wallet such as this from a clutch is the small handle at the side. This makes this purse very casual and not intended for evening wear. A wallet such as this closes with a zipper and has sections as is your men's wallets. This kind of purse is not meant for carrying coins, but only currency notes and plastic currency like credit cards and debit cards. The next type of wallet is a card wallet or a credit card holder. This is a sleek wallet only for the purpose of carrying cards. They could be plastic currency in the form of credit cards or debit cards, or loyalty cards and even identification cards. Rich wallets made up of a case of aluminum and sections of thin plastic are also used to carry cards in a secure way. Modern card wallets ensure RFID protection as well and can be made from carbon fiber too. Finally, the checkbook wallet. A checkbook wallet is a long, large wallet such as this. They are considerably bigger than the standard bifolds and they are used to hold documents such as passports and checkbooks. This is very useful during travel and at times when you have to visit your bank for identification. Activity. In your learning diary, take a few sheets and create a reference book of iconic bag styles and their designers and note their details. When were they made? Who inspired them? Who developed them? And how valuable are they today? I would also like you to collect references of bags in style at this moment by observing runaway trends. You could do this through the method of scrapbooking in your learning diary. Conclusion. With this, we come to the end of this module. To summarize, in this module, we elaborated the history and evolution of bags in the West and in India. We considered some iconic bags and their designers along the way. We listed out various styles of bags and wallets and the materials they could be made of. In the section on styling, we also discussed the selection of bags and the styling of outfits with suitable bags. I hope you would explore this further and experiment with your bags in your fashion looks. Now, bag is an exhaustive subject and hence is impossible for me to cover every aspect of this accessory through this course. I recommend that you read further on this topic to expand your knowledge.